Anyways, also with this patch, we got the Heritage Armor Questlines. Now, I have not done the Heritage Armor Questlines because I do not have, an orc or a human to do them on. I have human paladin. He's just not leveled. So I can't really do it on him yet. So I'll probably end up doing that one eventually. But from what I've heard, because I went and I asked, I was like, look, I went on Twitter and I was like, look, bro, I have not done this quest line, and I'm probably not going to do it for the next little while. So what is your opinion on what's popping off? So as you can see here, here's my tweet. I said, I don't have a human or an orc to do the Heritage Questlines on yet. So give me your honest opinions on both of them. Not the armors. I just wanted to clarify that. I meant the actual questlines. And from what I have gathered, from this thread and other people on Twitter and asking friends and stuff like that, the orcs made out like fucking bandits, bruh. And because their whole quest line is all about bringing the tribes together for like this big celebration and such, right? And bro, Blizzard went all fucking out for the orcs. Like, they went hard as a motherfucker. If you can think of an orc character, most likely they were involved with this quest line. And that's fucking crazy because they were taking characters that haven't been relevant since like the Burning Crusade or Wrath of the Lich King and just throwing them in there while also giving you lore on like what they've been doing, what's going on, how are the tribes, and it's been fucking and it was I was watching Skull do some of his stuff and he was fucking if you want to see a man be happy as hell, you go check out Skull, because Skull's like, he was, bro, that man must have cried, I'm gonna be honest, because fucking, he got everything that you could have ever wanted in an orc quest line. They got, and to a lot of people, it is probably the best quest line for the Heritage Armors, period. Right? And you have some people here. There's some minor nitpicks, Red Totem. There's one, the orc one is pretty good. And his nitpicks were that Thrall's son, Durak, he's got some fucked up looking hair. Which, alright, you know what? I don't know what that is, King, but you need to get, bro. Thrall, my man, you need to tell your son he needs some better drip. He needs a new cut. Because this shit is bad. Your son's ugly. Alright. And that was another thing. It was like, Draka was, a Maldraxi ghost using her Shadowlands model, which Red Totem does not like. But I'm of the impression that, like, the fact that they made Draka be the Maldraxi one. Now, I know a lot of people are like, I don't like Shadowlands. I don't like Shadowlands either. But still, like, the fact that they went and they were like, this spirit, the one who is showing up in this questline, is the Draka. It kind of fixes the whole idea that was presented in Shadowlands where, like, the orc ancestors, when they appeared, they're not really the ancestors. They're like echoes of their spirits. It fixed that problem because, let me see if I can find that tweet by Skull. I'm gonna use your shit, Skull. I hope you don't mind. Banner, here we go. We're gonna use Skull stuff. So Skull found out that if you are a part of the Maldraxi, here it is right here. All right, Skull, we're gonna use your show. I'm gonna leech off of you. So he said, right here, the various ancestors say different things to you depending on your choices in Battle for Azeroth and Shadowlands. So one of the ancestors is Varrock Sarfang, and he says, "Hail, Benarak, the first seeker of true honor." He's like, in the darkest days of the Horde, when defying the will of a tyrant risked life and death, you stood at my side. It is due to your efforts that our people will cross over this threshold into a bright new age. We will continue to watch over you with pride. Oh, and one last message, if you do not mind. Next time you see Zakan, tell him I have found them, my family. So, which also is like, if this kind of fixes the issue of like, you, like, the orc afterlife is kind of like, doesn't really exist within the confines of the actual Shadowlands. It's more now it's actually how it's supposed to be, which is that when you die as an orc, you know, and you die with honor, right, you're gonna go to they have like the Great Hunting Grounds or something, right? Or am I thinking of like the Valkyr? Anyways, he goes and he finds his family, and that's probably the best thing ever. And then we got Draka with what I was talking about earlier. It says, "Hail Banarak, first seeker of true honor. It is good to see you again, my friend. I'm not at all surprised that you had a hand in bringing about this glorious day. There's no finer choice of orc for the first completion of the rite. The return of the Kosh'harg. The Kosh'harg represents a turning point for our people. After our suffering, a brighter future has finally been reached." So, this Draka, right, is the actual Draka. So, and this kind of fixes the idea that, like I was saying, how Shadowlands kind of put forward that they're not really the spirits of the ancestors, that they're kind of like, you know, a bunch of fucking, like, random fucking, like, echoes of their spirits. This kind of puts that to bed. Because this makes it so that even despite the fact that Draka is a Maldraxi, despite that she fights for the Shadowlands, she is still an orc, and she can still be called upon by her people when need be. And that is fucking great. That fixes a lot of the issues that a lot of people have had with the Shadowlands, especially when it comes to passing over to the afterlife with all these different cultures. It's great. It's nice. Fix your fucking hair, please. I hate looking at your hair. It's so bad. Anyways, there was also the human one. I think I had a picture for this. There was also the human heritage armor. Now, the human questline, to a lot of people, it was pretty weak. It wasn't that good. I haven't done it, but it's probably going to be the questline that I will do. And I was like, fuck. I was like, well, hearing this, I'm like, oh man, the fuck they do? Did they give us another Worgen one where they, you know, want you to hate yourself or something? No, it's not it at all. No. It's that. So the human quest line, for a lot of people, it was bad because it wasn't as good as the orc one. That's the reason why it's bad. Now, if we're gonna use that as kind of an example, or kind of like a hallmark as a starting point for whether something is bad or good, then that means that all the heritage armor quest lines before now are dog shit. Which, I mean, some of them are weaker than others, but there are some that aren't like that bad, you know. And I don't think the human one is that bad. Now, I do think that when it comes down to it, it is a good quest line, but it's a bad heritage quest line. Because if we are going to compare it to the orcs got like all this fucking lore for the orcs. You got to go and like you reunite all the clans together, whether they hate each other or not. And then you got to pick what clan you get to be a part of. You got lore about the different ancestors from past, like Grommash shows up, Draka shows up, Sarfang shows up. And it is one of the best quest lines in the game. And now you got the humans, and the humans, they got a quest line all about Stormwind and the Defiance Brotherhood and the legacy left behind by Annexia and the Great Masquerade. Now, for those who don't know, the Great Masquerade questline is, in my opinion, it is one of the best questlines from Vanilla WoW, right? Because it's the whole quest where like you start fighting black dragons. By the end of it, you unmask Annexia, you get the fucking key to Annexia's lair, and then you go and kill Annexia, right? That quest line was brilliant. It was incredible. That's the heritage quest line for the humans. Now, I will be honest, a lot of people, if they are playing this quest line, chances are that if they ever did the Great Masquerade, they either didn't do it on a human, or if they're playing a human, they probably weren't old enough, and that's kind of funny, or they weren't playing WoW at the time to do that quest line. So the whole idea of centering it around Anexia, despite the fact that Anexia and the Black Dragons itself are like really fucking crucial to the history of the humans, especially when we start talking about the Prestor family and all the shit that Neltharion did, and Nefarian and Anexia. Like, given that we're about to go into a patch all about Embers of Neltharion, this quest line does make sense, right? But for a lot of people, they never had that connection to this quest line. They never did it back in the day. Or if they did it on another, so that it's not really as impactful. And so it is objectively weaker than the Orc quest line. Now, does that mean that it's a bad quest line? No, I don't think so. But I think that when it comes down to it, I think it's really based on perspective. You either like it or you don't like it, you know? And it's like that with everything. I've seen people who don't like the Orc quest line. And, you know, after watching some of the Orc quest line from Skull, like, I don't see how anybody could fucking hate that. Like, I don't understand, unless you're trying to find something to hate. Like you got to go out of your way. You got to do some mental gymnastics to try to hate that quest line. But that's besides the point. Point is that the human quest line wasn't as narratively strong as the Orc one. And at the end of the day, I am in agreement with a couple people that I saw talking about this, that it probably shouldn't have been like the quest line for humans, right? Because they tried to encompass with the human heritage, especially with their armor, you can see right here, it's red. It's red for Stromgarde, right? They tried to encompass the Kultaros, I believe, Stromgarde, and then, the Stormwind colors. Now, see, the problem is that the quest line itself was solely focused on Stormwind rather than the different human kingdoms. I think it probably would have been better if they did something in relation to the 7 kingdoms. You know, we go and we see the history of all the different human kingdoms and how the humans became what they are today. You know what I mean? I think that would have been much better. It's clear to me that a lot of thought went into the Orc one, and not a lot of thought went into the human one. And, you know, it's like that with everything. I mean, fuck, if we go back to Mists of Pandaria, we're looking at a thing where the Horde got a really fucking good quest line during the escalation stuff in the Barrens, with when Rexar, Rokon, Chen Stormstout, they all fucking came together and they defended fucking Sinjin village from the Korkron. And then the Alliance got a robot cat that they like stealth around, and then that was their whole quest line, you know? Like, you know, maybe that was the true heritage of these quest lines, is that the Horde gets something badass and the Alliance gets shit. Maybe I don't know. Either way, I will say, from what I've heard, I would really like the Great Masquerade, and I would really, really like the Orc quest line. And the armors, I like them both. So, that's just me.